God bless you, Abounding Grace, El Cerrito. It was so good to be with you guys on Sunday. We heard a word from the Lord that the wagons are here. We know by way of Genesis chapter 45, verses 27 to 28, that number one, the wagons that had come from Pharaoh were full of kingly provisions. The land was found in a famine, and the wagons had not only the essentials of food and water, but they had the luxuries only found in the land of Egypt. So that Jacob could not only make the trip, but he could look good while he went. We know that by Jacob's response, that when he saw the wagons, number two, that was enough for him. Sometimes God will push back the curtain of time and allow you to peek into what is to come. I call it a glimpse of glory, or maybe a sneak peek, if you will. The wagons were a glimpse of what was just beyond the distance of the journey. God did it for David in the cave of Adullam, when his brothers and their household met him there and said, "You are our king." He confirmed the calling of David the first time in his life in the darkest place of his life. God did it for Elijah when Elijah prayed for rain over the land. He told the servant to go and look upon the horizon of the sea, and the servant went and came back 7 times, and on the 7th time he said, "I see a cloud the size of a man's hand." And Elijah took that as confirmation. It was a glimpse. And even Jesus saw the wagons on his way to the garden he would be portrayed in. In John chapter 18 and verse 1, it said he went over the brook Kidron. Kidron was significant because in the Old Testament, the kings and the prophets of old would take the false gods of Israel, they would crush them and throw them into this brook. And while he's on his way to do the hardest thing he would ever have to do, he sees the fulfillment of man restored to his rightful position. He went over Kidron so one day man could go over and rule over the demonic entities of the world. And last but not least, remember when Jacob saw the wagons, he understood that number 3, Joseph, his son, is not dead. Joseph's name means Jehovah added, or to add, or to increase. So the son that he thought was dead for over 25 years, when he saw the wagons, he knew that his son was alive and well. Can I say this to the church? That increase is not dead. God is not done adding to the church in El Cerrito. That faith and that virtue and that anointing that you thought was dead is alive and well. And as Jacob tried to preserve his promise, Joseph, we too try to preserve the promises of God. And we learn by the story of Joseph that sometimes God will send our promise into a land of increase. And while we try to preserve the promises of God, now the promises of God are going to preserve us. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you're facing in this time, understand in El Cerrito, the wagons are here for you. Let's get into the wagons today. Let's get into the wagons this week and allow God to take us to that land and see the success of the promises we thought were dead. Let's unify in prayer and fasting because God has showed us that a great revival and harvest is ready for El Cerrito. It's time to go because the wagons are here. I love you guys and I hope to see you guys soon. God bless you.